I want to introduce the next speaker, multifaceted, doctor by profession. She actually is a consultant with the government, advocating key initiatives in terms of equality, in terms of reproductive, gender, and various critical issues like that, right? She runs an NGO called Dorcas. She is a film producer and director. That's on her resume. But you know what I did? I did a little homework. I went behind the scenes and got some scoop from their life. So if you don't mind, I'm going to share with you some stuff to embarrass the speakers. Do you think it's okay to embarrass the speakers? Come on, guys. Chennai. Seriya? Embarrass panlama? Yes, no? Okay, year 1997. Some of the speakers are saying no. I'm ignoring them. The year was 1997. One of Hollywood's blockbuster movie had hit Chennai. The theater was Satyam Theatre. The movie was Titanic. And our next speaker, very nice person. I'm sure she's going to have a personal conversation with me after that. I may need your support. Would faithfully attend a Bible study every Saturday. Come, hail, storm, rain, will be there for Bible study. But Titanic was happening. So she called up the person who was conducting the Bible study and said, Akka, something's happening, can't make it this time for Bible study. She didn't tell me what the reason was, but it was definitely not about me going to Satyam to watch Titanic. So, went to college, comes back home, get ready, go to Titanic. There's a ring on the doorbell, rings, and who's standing there? The Akka and her husband who conducts Bible study. And this time, her mother, the speaker's mother, welcomes them and says, would you want to tell them where you're going right now? And I'll leave the story there and you can understand what the consequences are. So she's a doctor, she does a lot of governmental work. But I asked her, so if you're not going to be a doctor, what would you have been? So she said, I want to be an astrophysicist. But, thank God she's a doctor. She's doing really well, making a difference in the community. And her goal, her vision is that she wants to bring in understanding, empathy, and equality, and wants to contribute to a society like that. So, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Dr. Aiswarya. You can clap loudly even as she comes on stage.
Yeah, that's me, the movie buff. I continue to watch a lot of movies, and but I don't sacrifice church time or Bible study time for watching movies. 10 years back, I created my Facebook profile, like everyone, and the Facebook asks us, tell us something about yourself. So this is what I wrote 10 years back, and I left it like that. So this is my description about me. I'm a woman first by privilege. I'm a Dalit by birth, disabled by a quirk of an accident, Christian by choice, doctor by calling, and a winner by default. A lot of people ask me, why do you write all that, Why do you say you're Dalit? Why do you say you're disabled? Don't say such words, Many people are very uncomfortable when you use these labels. But I tell, this is my explanation, These are not labels, these are all my identities. And each one of these identities has shaped me. And I will not be who I am if it were not for all of this that make me who I am. I grew up in a very supportive, loving family, like most of us here. I didn't have any of the hardships. In fact, when I was growing up, I never knew that I was a person with a disability. I never really knew, because we classically define disability as inability or as a facet not of the person. This is how WHO defines disability. It's not a factor of me, it is a factor of the environment or factor of something that you are unable to access. But my life was very comfortable all through school, at home and everywhere. I was much loved. I had a great, fun childhood. So I didn't really experienced disability. So I never thought I was a person with a disability. But the reality is that I was different from the other children. And I didn't feel that, but sometimes it would be pointed out, and children can be very cruel when you're small, and it was not unnoticed, you know, and I knew I was different from everyone. So in school, I had a lovely headmistress, and she had, as much as my parents, my headmistress, Mrs. Ahalya Williams, she played a very important part of my life. And she used to take Sunday school for us, and she told me very early on, you know, I don't know if I understood what she told, but she told, you know, we are made in the image of God. And she explained what image of God means. She said, you know, that doesn't mean that God has 2 eyes and 2 legs like you, but we have the nature of God with us. Like we can love, and we have sense of right and wrong, and we are compassionate, and you know, these are the qualities of God that we embody. So therefore, you know, you are like, we are all made in the image of God. Somehow, as a little child, that really had a strong bearing on me, and that makes me, makes my religion, makes my faith more real to me. That we really reflect, we are made in the image of God. Okay, when I was in school, I had this dream, and I want to talk to you about my dream, because the dream is linked to the purpose, because we were asked to talk about, you know, why we do what we do and the purpose of our lives. So when I was in school, I never thought I will become a doctor. I never prayed, I never imagined, I never had this ambition of becoming a doctor, but I had this dream. I dreamt that I was sitting on a stool somewhere in a corner of India. And I was a little girl, and I was administering polio drops to every child born in India. And I would just sit on the stool and give polio drops. I would give for every child that was born, and I was continue to do it day and night. And then I would become old, and I will become gray, but I continue to give polio drops. And then my hair would grow, and it would become white, and it would flow down the stool, and it would just flow. But I continue to give. And I gave until every child born in India was inoculated and you know, saved from polio. This was a dream, you know, it's just a recurrent dream that kept coming again and again. But I never understood at that time that later on in life, my dream will come true. I didn't ask for my dream to come true, but it did come true. In 2013, India was removed from the list, WHO removed India's list from a polio endemic nation, and polio is very much eradicated all over the world today. So the dream did come true, but I didn't play a part in that dream. But in another way, my dream did come true, because I began to work with children with HIV. And very early on, I have been working with children with HIV since 2000. I studied to become a pediatrician. I worked with children a lot, and then I started working with children with HIV and AIDS. I worked in the government. I was a joint director in the Tamil Nadu State AIDS Control Society. I worked in the government of India. I worked in the government of Tamil Nadu, worked for the government of Andhra Pradesh. I started anti-retroviral therapy clinics. I headed the anti-retroviral therapy program for both the government of Tamil Nadu and for the government of Andhra Pradesh. And I was very much responsible for preventing lakhs and lakhs of children from not contracting HIV. We were part of this. And today, maybe in a year, you'll have around less than 20 children born with HIV in Tamil Nadu or India, even lesser children. That's because of programs over 10 years that we implemented. It was wonderful to work. I loved working in the government, but I worked in the program for more than 10 years. And because the program was run, and Tamil Nadu especially is the flagship, it's the best implementer of the program in all of India. And we had so many people visiting our program. I had the honor of hosting Bill Gates when he came to Tamil Nadu. And when I was working in Andhra, Bill Clinton came and he inaugurated our pediatric HIV initiative. And Sonia Gandhi came and she inaugurated the Kadapa ART Center, because I was in charge at that time there. And Carla Bruni Sarkozy, she was the brand ambassador for the global fund, GFATM fund, and she was there. So I used to, host them and take them around. See, when I say I did it, it was just not me. It was as a government program. I was the technical head for the program, but I always worked under a senior IS officer, and it was a huge team implementing it. But I had a very critical part to play in the program over 10 years. And because we did such a good job, I didn't have a job after 10 years, because HIV incidence started coming low and became mainstreamed, and it became part of the government program. So there was no need for experts like me to do what we were doing. So after 10 years, I found that I didn't want to do it, so I wanted to do something else. I was constantly looking for something else to do. At this point, I want to tell you another story, because here we are talking about purpose, and I want to go into why I do what I do. Why did I want to work with children? And because I ask myself that question time and again. That was one incident that happened in my life, really was the moment that made me take the path that I then followed. I was in college. I was doing my pediatrics. I was in Ramchandra Medical College. And just a few months before the exams, we didn't have to go to regular classes, but we just, in the mornings I would go with my chief for the rounds, along with the chief. You know, several of you are doctors here. The chief goes in front, and we are like a flock of PGs and medical students behind. Most of the time we don't know what's going on, we just follow them. And the chief knows what he's doing. He goes from bed to bed or room to room, and he talks to the parents, talks to the patients. So I was not in a wheelchair at that time. I haven't been in a wheelchair all my life. I use calipers and crutches to move. I'm in a wheelchair only for the past 2 years. At the time I was on my crutches. So when the chief moves, I'm a few steps behind, you know. So when they stop, in a little while I join a team, and we go. That's how we were doing rounds one morning. And the chief, the Ramchandra Medical College, 5th floor is a very, like a posh 5-star services, you know. Different floors have different patients with different capacities to play. This was the most affluent section of the hospital. So we entered one room, and there was this 6 or 7-year-old child on bed. He had spina bifida, which means below the waist. This child was paralyzed, but he was very intelligent. He was very smart, bright, beautiful eyes. So we entered the room, and my chief was talking to the parents and talking to them. As usual, mothers will ask, when will we get discharged? This child had an infection because of a shunt for draining his meningocele. So I was playing with this child, and I loved kids instinctively. The kids love me, so just standing there and playing with the kid when the chief was doing the rounds, talking to the parents. And I noticed very clearly that the child was very beautiful, bright eyes, but very sad eyes. And I picked sadness very quickly, very instinctively I picked it up. And it was time for us to move out of the room, and everyone were moving out. This child caught hold of my hands, and he would not let go. And he caught hold of my apron as well, and he just wouldn't let go. So with difficulty, I removed the grip on me, and I said, we have to go now, but I promise I will come back later and I'll talk to you. And we went off. That evening, after dinner, late in the evening, I went to see this child. Hospitals are beautiful in the evenings. Several of you work in hospitals, or if you visited a hospital in the evening when the rush and the hustle and bustle is finished, and the hospitals have a certain glow, and there's a nice aura in hospitals. So me and a friend, we took some chocolates, we entered into this child's room, opened the door, and the parents were there, and the child was watching TV, and I just saw the eyes, again very sad, beautiful eyes, but very sad eyes. So we went in, hello and everything, and again went and I talked to the child, and the child just looked at me, and I'll never forget what he asked me. He said, "Are you really a doctor?" And the next question that he asked broke my heart. He said, "Did you go to school? Did you go to college?" It was only then I realized that this child had everything, loving parents, everything. The parents would play with this kid and everything, but the child didn't go to school. And at that time, I didn't understand inclusive education and mainstreaming of children with disability in regular schools. I didn't know those words at that time, but I knew the problem for those sad eyes was that this kid did not play with other children and have a normal childhood, a childhood that I had. So I sat with the parents and I encouraged them to as soon as he's discharged, to put him in a regular, normal school and to go. And there are certain accommodations that the child needs to do, but they can be easily done. So, and I handheld the child and the parents for a certain period of time until he was well into school and he did well. And I stayed in touch with the family for a very long time. The child did very well after that. So that day I realized that sharing a little bit about myself to a child, to somebody, had such a huge impact on their life. And I knew that I was used as a tool that minute. So from then on, everything that I have done, I've had this overwhelming sense of purpose. And therefore, after that, I continue to work in wherever I worked, that they were children, and they were vulnerable children or vulnerable people. And in that, I found, my purpose being fulfilled. This is the government program. Can you see this? Anything we do with excellence, no? This is a garden patch that we set up in Tambaram Hospital. Tambaram Hospital used to have pigs in the hospital campus. But we said, because everywhere, every government hospital that I oversaw or I supervised, we always encouraged the teams to set up garden patches, play stations for children. Does this look like a government hospital? Even private hospitals won't have such amazing facilities. This is Children's Hospital, Egmore. This is a pharmacy in the Children's Hospital, Egmore. All our anti-retroviral therapy clinics have, not exactly like this, but we used to get funds for every hospital and do it like that. And when I say we do it, I took a lead in that, but it was also because the Tamil Nadu government itself has one of the best health infrastructures in the country. And the entire team, of course, worked together, but I made sure that these were my mark that I left on the program. This is the waiting hall of Children's Hospital, the anti-retroviral therapy clinic. We used to always fight and get funds and get it done. You can walk into any hospital. walk into an ART center, you will find pots, and you will find plants, and you will find curtains. We made it not at all look like a government clinic. This is another, sometimes even with very little resources, we always made sure that the waiting shed will have a greenery to look. These were my marks that we left on the program. So I have very little time left, and I wanted to share more, but we'll just come back to some of the other stuff that we did recently. Of course, I left the HIV program, and over the past 4 years, I've been very much involved in disability activism and legislation. In 2017 July, the GST regime kicked into India, and for the first time after many, it was unheard of, disability aids and appliances had a levy of from between 5% to 28% taxes. I know some of you here also were following this story. So I led a delegation, and we met the finance minister, Mr. Arun Jaitley at that time, and we gave a representation. And they had, so many explanations for why you can't have 0% tax because of the input tax credit, and the prices will actually come down. But we had several points memorandum, and we were following it up. When I went to meet him, Nirmala Sitharaman got up and gave me her seat, because we thought it would be a 1-minute meeting, but it went on into a half-an-hour meeting. So she got up, vacated her seat, made me sit next to the finance minister and said, "You explain." And she stood. And then a lot of the points that we presented, and we continue to work and lobby with the government. This is the 31st GST Council meeting, and there was 28% levy luxury tax on wheelchair components. And that was the craziness of the GST coding. But we reverted it from 28% to 5% because of our efforts. In June last year, the 18% GST on cars, they said they can't reduce it, but they said they will reimburse it. So they formed a government order. So they will have to pay it initially, but they will get back that 18% tax into the bank account. So a lot of work like that I continue to do. Not alone, I work with a lot of people together. And so this is work that God has helped me to do, and this is not, every day you don't see results. Sometimes we just work and work and work, and we do not see results at all. But suddenly something happens, and we see results. And that is what we continue, that I think that we work even when we don't see results. And even most of the time people will ask me, what do you make out of it? What do you get out of it? So I'll just finish here. Just a lot of things I wanted to share, but right now I run a shelter for women with disabilities in Nungambakam. It's a very small program compared to the big programs I used to do in the past, but we have, this is what I wanted to play. We have a fantastic wheelchair basketball team, and the team is only 2.5 years old. And you can see on the table the number of cups and saucers and medals that our girls have won. Our girls are part of the state team and of the national team, and last year our team members, 5 of our girls, went to Indonesia, Bali, Indonesia, and they won the bronze for the Asian Cup. And the girls are right now preparing. My work is very, very small right now, but I love what I'm doing right now with the sports team. We're not just doing wheelchair basketball, but we're doing a lot of para games and racing and all. Our goal is right now Tokyo 2020 Paralympic Games, and our girls are with very little resources, they've come this far, and we are certain that we will qualify for the Olympics. I'll just leave you. This is the last clip. That's the sound of gold that we are going to win. So I wanted to show that clip. A huge number of cups and trophies and medals that the women are winning wherever they go. So I thank God for this opportunity. I'll just finish with this little, I think I touched upon purpose, integrity, and excellence. And I lost my mother just a little over a month back. And just before she died, she was not ill, but just before she died, somebody asked her, what is your prayer? Do you have a prayer request? And I believe this was told to me later. She told them, I don't have any prayer requests. I have everything, and God has given me everything. I only pray that Papa and Babu, that's me, Papa, I only pray that Papa will walk closely with God. Thank you.
Wow, what a story, what a story. I'm requesting you to stand to your feet and give Dr. Aiswarya a standing ovation. She deserves it. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for this remarkable person. We're so blessed. For me, my takeaways from this, I was reminded of Esther and the line which is for such a time as this. It just takes one person who's connected to God and connected to the purpose and sees no excuse, and God can change the world. And you could be that one person, and that's the lesson we learned from Dr. Aiswarya. You could just be here. I'm requesting Harris to come on stage and to hand over this memento. You can continue to put your hands together and clap for Dr. Aiswarya. The caricature says, Dr. Aiswarya Rao, the change agent, and indeed, she is the change agent.